So today, we're lucky enough to have two dino experts to help us make sense of all the awesome new dinosaurs recently brought to life in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. Do you think it could be trained to play fetch?
Give it a little thrust and then pull its wings out.
Probably be like trying to play fetch with an ostrich.
Foreman gets eaten. Yeah.
Probably it could move pretty
So
fast.
once they're slicing at predators, they would just do dog-sized Tyrannosaurs would grow into such large, bone-crunching monsters. Like, that's what happened.
What did you both think about the new movie? And we are doing spoilers, so feel free to talk about anything you want.
Well, since I'm a dinosaur expert, I definitely give it 5 stars. It was
Okay.
a sensational movie and a great trilogy, bringing back the legendary characters and combining it with the Jurassic World characters.
Okay, so you liked seeing Owen and everyone
seeing
come back?
Dr. Grant. Dr. Grant was my favorite character in Jurassic Park, and it was great to see that he's still doing paleontology digs and that Dr. Ellie Sattler is still doing paleobotany.
Remember he had to hide that photo of her. He
Yeah.
still has a crush on her after all these years.
Well, yeah,
Move
that's
on,
from
Grant,
that's from 1993, and it brings back memories when they were digging together. But ever since she got engaged with this man named Mark, he's just been doing continuing work.
Yeah.
And he
What's
was a nice
Mark
guy.
up to at this point?
Yeah,
You need to have like a little side movie that's just him.
He's got a TV series coming out. They're going to cover that whole drama.
But
the whole
I guess
extended universe, the
Yeah.
multiverse of Jurassic.
So what's your opinion about Colin Trevorrow, I think is the director's name?
He
he
came back.
is.
He didn't do the. I don't think he did the second Jurassic World movie, right?
Yeah, he didn't do the second Jurassic World movie. He only did the first one. Yeah, the second Jurassic
came
World
back
movie
for
was
it.
J.A. Bayona. He directed the second movie. But then now Colin Trevorrow came back for this third one. And he did a great job, too.
Yeah, and you said you were able to see it early on Tuesday?
Yeah, I saw it
That's
on Tuesday
awesome.
at Red Rock.
What was the audience like? Were they
It was
cheering and
packed.
stuff?
Yes, we were cheering and doing a lot of laughing because Dr. Ian Malcolm was being too hilarious of a comedian because, well, Jeff Goldblum is a comedian, so that's what he does. He tries to make people laugh. So we've been doing a lot of laughing, mostly because of Ian Malcolm. He was being too much
What do you
of a
remember?
comedian.
When was the crowd the loudest?
The crowd the loudest?
Was it when the Giganotosaurus showed up for the first time? Or was it when the two characters from the old movie came back?
Pretty much the old characters came back. We did a lot of clapping and stuff, and we also did a lot of clapping at the final battle, the theropod battle with Therizinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and Tyrannosaurus, because that was pretty awesome.
Dressed up, dinosaur shirts everywhere.
Yeah, there were a lot of shirts. I saw some Jurassic Park and Jurassic World shirts. I was wearing my Giganotosaurus shirt because that was the animal I was most excited for. I could have worn my Allosaurus gear because
That's your
my
favorite.
favorite.
Yeah.
but I was excited to see the
I know.
Giganotosaurus
That's the hardest
because
part is you can only wear one shirt.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's an amazing animal, and Carcharodontosaurs are one of my favorite theropods to study, so I decided to wear my Giganotosaurus datasheet shirt. So but I did wear my Allosaurus tooth necklace, of course.
Okay, good.
because
So you got the two-
I wear that all the time. What I was just surprised is that there were so many people there wanting to see the premiere.
Oh man, it's epic 30 years in the
Yeah.
making. I'm not surprised. The whole
Yeah.
world should shut down as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, so that was a little bit surprising. It was a full theater, and pretty much all the seats were packed.
You know,
Overall
I liked
movie.
it. If you have dinosaurs on screen, I'm going to enjoy it. Something I really liked about this one that I critiqued in the older Jurassic Worlds is they got rid of those hybrids. I like that they showed the dinosaurs as animals. I felt they'd gotten away from that a little bit.
Right.
So it was nice to see them just back acting like,
Yeah, as animals, but
treating
not
them as
monsters.
animals,
So what's your rating? How would you rank it compared to the other movies?
nothing's going to touch the first Jurassic Park.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
that's always
just
gonna be your classic.
above and beyond. I think everything else is going to be a little bit of an imitation of that one. But it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Why do you think the first one worked so well and they have always kind of lived in that shadow? Because
Just seeing dinosaurs on screen for the first time, you're never
just
going to be able
can't.
to recreate that again. That first, the first time you see that movie, even if you're a kid today and you see it, getting to see real quote unquote dinosaurs on screen is always going to have an
because
impact on you.
I felt like they tried in the new movie to sometimes mimic some of it, like the scene where they were going through the dark corridors to turn the power on. They had to go through the bugs to turn the power on again and talk through the radio and be like, it's the third button down.
Yeah.
I was like, this is interesting. There's a lot of these similar
References
setups.
to the first movie.
Yeah, they're trying to create a similar environment. So.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think that works about Jurassic Park, the first one, is it's in a way a really small movie. It's just all enclosed on that island there. It's in the one park, so everything's connected. Everything has an impact on each other.
Do you wish they would have brought back Tim and Lex? Were you sad that they weren't in the movie?
A little bit.
I forgot about them.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so
so
you obviously
they're
didn't
John
care.
Hammond's grandchildren.
Yeah.
But Ariana Richards, who played Lex Murphy, retired from acting. She's more interested in art now.
Oh.
So since she had a,
They
has
could
a
have.
different,
They wouldn't. You don't think they could have talked her into it with a big enough
I
paycheck?
She would have if they,
maybe, maybe if she was really interested.
I'm
in
an artist,
coming
not an
back,
actor. Now you're like,
Right?
come on, the whole world wants you
maybe
back.
she would have came back if she became interested, but she just was more interested in art, and that's her new passion now.
What do you wish you would have seen the Camp Cretaceous characters in real life? Do you wish they would have brought in
I think I would like that.
Kenji and
Darius, Brooklyn, Yasmina, Sammy,
like, do you think they should
Ben?
have cast 5 humans and at least had the
Brought
Camp
them into
Cretaceous?
Yeah, that would be nice because my favorite character in Camp Cretaceous is Darius because he's a dino nerd.
Yeah.
Though I don't want to brag. I don't think he knows as much as me, but he was pretty good. Pretty
Yeah,
cool
I can see, you
character.
kinda remind me of him. I
With
can
his
see
knowledge
the-
of the animals, he has a really
Right.
good chance on surviving, kind of like Dr. Grant. But yeah, it would be nice to have kids be in this to recreate those characters and put them in the movies.
Yeah, because in Camp Cretaceous they brought in like Dr. Wu and stuff.
Dr.
They made
Henry
them
Wu, yeah.
animated. So like, why not bring those kids into the big
into
screen?
real life.
Because
yeah.
people would have applauded if they all of a sudden like showed Camp Cretaceous. Like if you would have seen someone run up and say, "Hey, I'm Kenji," you would have been like, "Oh, dang," you know?
Yeah, that is if people watch Netflix.
Or like, "I'm Brooklyn," or if just like Brooklyn's like grabbed a phone and like posted on social media or something.
Yeah, since she always goes on her phone all the time.
Yeah. What do you think about the fan theory that there was one of the Ankylosaurus we saw was Bumpy from
Camp Cretaceous.
Do you feel like that was accurate?
I don't know if I noticed that. I mean, Bumpy the Ankylosaurus has like a turquoise color with some yellow and that large head spike on her skull. I don't
Okay,
know
so
if
you
I
don't
noticed
think she
that.
showed up in the
I
movie?
don't think so.
And there's a little Easter egg there.
That would have been, but I didn't see the color scheme or the large head spike on the skull, so I don't know if that was Bumpy the Ankylosaurus or not.
Can you, if you go to YouTube, you type in like the very first Jurassic Park, the very opening scene. There's like Dr. Grant's talking to some kid who's kind of being a little
a jerk.
a little
Oh,
jerk.
yeah,
Yeah.
he
Do you
was-
guys think that kid grew up to either be Owen Grady or the bad guy in Jurassic World, who was like do you guys-
Hoskins?
yeah. What do you think about the theory that kid grew up to be that guy?
I would
mean-
have liked to have seen if it was him, if it was Owen Grady growing up, if they had a little confrontation at the end when they first meet each other.
Because he would have been like, "I remember you when I
Yeah.
was a kid. I was at your dig.
You
know?
scarred me for life. A lucky kid to be going on a dig at that age.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, but still, it kind of insulting it like that. I mean, dromaeosaurs are closely related to birds, but just calling it a 6-foot-long turkey, that is where you need to be taught a lesson. Even though those are their closest relatives, they're not really birds because they're not in the Ave family.
Okay, so what about the theory that when the Dilophosaurus was killing Nedry in this movie and attacked Nedry, it didn't do it at first because Nedry had his hood up, and that roughly looked like a potential mate? Do you think that the Dilophosaurus first thought, "Oh, are you a mate?" and then later thought, "I'll kill you"?
That is a good question. Ever since I saw that, I think it kind of looked like it was just toying with him. But as it was just kept on looking at him, then maybe it probably saw it as a threat and maybe as food too. But in the
Because when his
past,
hood is on, maybe.
Yeah, I might have to
Yeah.
rewatch that scene with new eyes now to see if
yeah,
it's
it's like
that
I thought it killed him because he insulted it, but that's not the case because non-avian dinosaurs and other animals don't know what humans are saying.
It is really
So-
fun how it plays with him, it toys with him, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just,
but why is it toying with him? I mean, does he look like a Dilophosaurus at all with that yellow jacket and then his hood up?
he doesn't. So I just don't know why it's just playing around and then it kills
he's
and
just a
eats him.
Seinfeld fan.
It's like, I don't want to do this to you, but I also eat you. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
like-
Because Wayne Knight was on Seinfeld. I never watched that show, but yeah, he was on that show. But yeah, still, I just don't get why it's just standing there and not killing him right away like it would do.
you don't think
in
it's
the early
looking at him like a
Jurassic.
potential mate?
No, I don't think it seems that interested as wanting to get it on.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it's probably never seen someone like that before, or it is just curious. It's never been that close to a human.
Yeah.
Right. Such a different.
Yeah. He's trying to figure out, is this food or what is this in front of me here?
Yeah, and
Or
then
like,
once-
why is it acting like that?
Yeah.
And why is it so yellow, probably, and shiny? Just
Yeah.
like, we
maybe
just don't
that
see-
might be the case.
And usually bright colors
Yeah.
in the animal kingdom, if an animal's really bright, it usually means they're poisonous or venomous.
Yeah.
Stay away. So
Do you think it could be trained to play fetch? Or are they...
Don't quite think so. I don't think predators would normally want to play fetch unless it's a piece of meat. If it's a piece of meat, then maybe you could play fetch with that a bit. But
it's
just
not probably not bringing it
because
back
dogs
to you.
come from wolves and they were predators.
Yeah, but just a plain stick to a wild predator like that, I don't know if it would actually go after that.
Okay.
Probably be like trying to play fetch with an ostrich.
And then it's doing that inaccurate thing where it's putting that frill out and spitting
so
out poison.
cool though.
Yeah.
Like
I know it is pretty
I'm
cool.
okay with them making those,
Poor man gets
taking those
eaten.
liberties.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they need to
that is a
just
cool
they need to
thing.
label it a hybrid. Let's be real here. If
Yeah.
it's gonna be doing that, it's a hybrid.
Yeah, if it was an actual hybrid, then I'm fine with that. Of putting like a frilled lizard or like a poisonous snake in it, then that would be.
Oh, did
pretty
you
much
like how the
fine.
Barbasol cam
I
came
love
back?
that.
Yeah, the
It
Barbasol
was
cam
like-
came back.
And he was holding it, and he's like, "This was the beginning of my empire."
Yeah, where he put those embryos inside it.
Yeah. Did you ever notice the Tyrannosaurus was spelled wrong on that?
Yeah,
Oh, when he's like taking them out.
Yeah.
of the
Have you ever
little,
noticed that?
No,
I
no.
Oh.
think I kind of did.
Yeah, so they're labeled, you know,
Yeah,
and
they're
like
labeled.
it's like foreshadowing. But the Tyrannosaurus, I think, or one of the dinosaurs is spelled incorrectly, which is like a foreshadowing for all the mistakes, you know.
Yeah, I think I did kind of notice that.
One of those labels right
Yeah.
on there is misspelled.
Wait, right there, Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus, yeah.
Stegosaurus is spelled.
A should be an O.
That A should be an O. Yeah, so Stegosaurus is spelled
But
incorrectly.
it just shows how like because they're like everything is perfect here, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
somehow you mislabeled something.
Yeah,
you know?
and then that other name right there, Metriacanthosaurus.
What
isn't-
is that? Then?
I don't think we see that
that's a-
dinosaur.
No, we don't. It's another type of allosaurid. It belongs to a group called Metriacanthosauridae. So it's a medium-sized allosaurid predator that lived in the Middle Jurassic period in England. And when they got that embryo, I was like, oh, that's weird. I've never seen that theropod in Jurassic Park before. So they have that embryo.
That's
but
yeah.
the
So I've
animal's
never
not in
noticed that
there.
either. But now I'm super curious what that looks like.
Yeah, Metriacanthosaurus,
yeah.
pretty much like other allosaurids, has kind of large-sized skull, blade-like teeth, bony ridges over its eyes, and long claws to grab its prey. And of course, it's got
Wow.
the long tail out for balance.
You got to think in Jurassic Park how lucky they were to get the animals they did.
Cool. Yeah.
Because really, when you're doing that in the movie, you know, you're taking the DNA out of.
Yeah. Well, like that one mosquito ate all of these
Yeah.
dinosaurs. Like, and you
They lucked out. They got a
separated
Stegosaurus, a Triceratops, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, so here's Metriacanthosaurus, and as you can see by that human diagram, it's only a medium-sized theropod. It's
Yeah.
not that big as other relatives, but still a fearsome predator during its time.
And I guess just to get confirmation from experts, I've heard that couldn't happen from the amber and the mosquito. Is that?
Yeah,
you
that-
can't,
you guys
you
both
can't
agree
take
with that?
DNA out of a mosquito trapped in amber because DNA decays too quickly when an animal
Yeah.
dies. There's no way I'm going to extract DNA from a 145 million-year-old
Yeah.
Brachiosaurus.
So as far as you know, there is no DNA source that we could ever.
No,
look
there's
for. not
no-
a tooth
yeah.
or a
No.
bone or.
Yeah, we do have soft tissues of other stuff like blood cells and medullary tissue, which is the stuff to create eggshell, but
Does it have
DNA,
DNA in it?
no.
Oh, no DNA in those
None of
things?
those have DNA in it.
I mean,
So-
there's even some talk now of trying to recreate like the woolly mammoth, which the last woolly
Oh,
mammoth
yeah.
went extinct
Oh.
5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
even
there's been
that,
some study
there's
of
an uphill
that.
battle. And
That would be that's
Right?
maybe in a future podcast we might actually do that too.
Yeah.
I want
Well-
to get deep into like because that thing might be coming back.
well, there's
like,
a park up in the Yukon called Beringia Park where they are trying to recreate the mammoth. They want to introduce
Yeah.
muskox and like.
Are you
almost
pretty
make,
familiar
like,
with
an
that whole
ice
process?
age.
Like what they're
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I am kind of familiar with
Yeah.
it too. I
Yeah.
haven't been that much into it, but I believe if it is a success,
Okay.
it's
I
pretty
love
much
all
just going to be
paleontology.
it's
Mammals
pretty
are
much just
kinda
going to be
more-
a hairy
Yeah.
a hairy modern day elephant.
Okay.
But I don't know about having that shaggy fur in a
I
hot
know, it's gonna be
environment.
great, yeah. Well, if you guys do want to come back, probably in like
Oh,
2
for
or
sure.
3 months, we're gonna do an episode on bringing back the woolly mammoth. But I need to do all my research
Oh, yeah.
on
There's a
the DNA
yeah.
aspect of it and stuff.
Yeah, I probably
There
need to
was
get
this
into
guy
it too.
who wanted to do his whole thing was rewilding, and he was talking about how in North America, like the last, 11 million years ago, you had all these animals that lived out here, even in
Yeah.
Vegas, especially.
Yeah.
And his thing was like, well, we should bring them all back.
have
We should
wild.
reintroduce camels and all these things.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
recreate like the environment that should be.
Because maybe it would balance out better. Or
Exactly,
something.
that
I
was
don't
his
know.
argument. He's
Or
like,
we just do it
Yeah.
wrong and we mess up everything.
Exactly.
But yeah, but either one seems possible. Guillermo, can you bring up the scene where the T-Rex like goes through the electric fence? Well, they say 10,000 volts on the wiring, but some people in the comment section were saying that T-Rex could easily have withstood 10,000 volts and just fought through that fence. Do you think that fence would have actually kept a T-Rex? If the
well,
T-Rex got
could've.
pretty annoyed with being in that tiny area and really wanted to get out?
Well, if it's not
Probably,
big
yeah.
enough, then yes, it would definitely want to get out.
Yeah.
But withstanding the electricity, I don't know if a
Because I mean,
40
certainly
foot
it would
long
stay
animal could
away
do
from
that.
it as
Yeah.
long as it's happy. But if it was like, look, I'm a predator. And
I'm
I need
going
more
after
Yeah, I
space,
need to.
something.
Yeah, I would need to go out. If it is strong enough to withstand that electricity, then yes, it would take its chances to break out of that enclosure. But as we saw, the power went off, so it was able to escape.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, that's what I guess this scene won't help us because, the power's off now.
It's probably the amount of money it takes to make one T-Rex. You don't want a fence that's going to kill it as soon as it touches it.
Yeah.
That guy's probably getting fired if he does that, whoever loses the dinosaur.
So you think it's tough enough to fight through a 10,000-volt fence?
Kid, I don't know how
Tim
survived
if he can survive it, the T-Rex could run through that thing, right?
Still, he almost died, but thanks to doing CPR, he did make it through. But with a larger animal, maybe it has a better chance of not getting passed out. So
you think they would just do a moat or something? I mean, T-Rex isn't jumping over that.
No.
Jumping is the way to keep it in there.
Yeah, just have like a big space between, like, kind of like...
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know if a 7 or 8 ton animal could actually jump that high.
Yeah,
but...
it cannot even get off the... Can it ever get 2 feet off the ground? Could it even jump at all, a T-Rex?
I think they could.
Maybe just a little bit of a
full
leap.
speed, could it at least have like a moment where
a little bit of
off?
Maybe just a little bit of a leap because it couldn't run that fast for that long. So maybe a little bit of a leap, but definitely not a high jump like a pole vaulter or something.
But you agree it could swim like they're in the prehistoric planet?
Yes, it's possible that it could swim thanks to its hollow bones and big muscular legs,
so
able to stay afloat.
I would have definitely
It
thought
probably
like
could swim.
And then they were all like going across the water.
Yeah, we even found preserved marks of theropod tracks with their claws matching on the seabed that they were swimming and swimming. So
at the
T-Rex probably
museum-
could swim.
At the museum, we do have an actual trackway of a theropod that was swimming, just kind of skipping its feet along the bottom.
Yeah. Thanks to its hollow bones and strong back legs, it's possible that T-Rex could swim. And as we saw, it was swimming across the western interior seaway, which was risky because you need to watch out for mosasaurs and plesiosaurs living down there. So yeah, T-Rex and other large theropods could probably swim if they needed to.
Wow.
Because modern day birds do that, like ostriches and emus. They sometimes swim to other different lands to find new sources of food.
Giganotosaurus is the new apex predator that seems to be tougher than a T-Rex. Tell me all about this new dinosaur that they've added.
It is true, the Giganotosaurus is a bigger theropod than Tyrannosaurus Rex, though, as I've stated, some T-Rex specimens are about the same length, but Giganotosaurus is bigger than most specimens that scientists have discovered. It's about 40 feet long, 45 feet long, maybe more, but yeah. And it belongs to a group called Carcharodontosaurs. So as I said, Allosaurus is my favorite non-bird dinosaur. The Carcharodontosaurs are a subgroup of the Allosaur family tree that diversified after the Jurassic period. In the Cretaceous, the Carcharodontosaurs were the dominant predators around the world in the northern and the southern hemisphere. Giganotosaurus lived in the southern hemisphere in Argentina, South America, so that's where it reigned supreme, along with some other Carcharodontosaurs that also lived in Argentina, like Mapusaurus, Eocarcharia, and Tyrannotitan. So Giganotosaurus lived with some of its other relatives.
So you agree that if the two went toe-to-toe, it probably is bigger and tougher than the Tyrannosaurus Rex?
I wouldn't say tougher.
Oh.
Tyrannosaurus Rex is a lot more robust too. I mean, those are they're big, beefy dinosaurs.
Yeah, and it has a bone-crushing bite and a much bigger brain with better senses.
Okay, so bigger might not mean the better predator.
No, it's not the size of predators that make them deadly. It's all about the bite and the brawn that makes them deadly. Not
Okay,
their
so
size.
you would say the T-Rex still would dominate in a fight.
Yes, because it's strong. It's stronger and smarter than the other theropods, thanks to that big brain with those better senses like sight, smell, and hearing. It's got much better senses.
Because in the Jurassic, Guillermo, can you go to YouTube and type in the Jurassic World Prelude? Is that what it's called?
The prologue.
Or prologue, yeah. I wanted to get your thoughts on how this battle went down.
Right.
Because this is really the only thing the Jurassic World Park franchise has ever done that was truly in the time.
Yeah.
So do you feel like they nailed this video? Is it realistic to what scientists would think?
It is realistic, but some of these Cretaceous dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals lived a bit earlier than some others. Like all these are living all together.
And they probably all didn't live in the same area at the same time too. But
yeah, like this Oviraptor. It didn't live in North America with T-Rex. It lived in Asia.
Okay, so they even in this
earlier.
historical narrative, they did merge animals that weren't supposed to be together.
Yeah, they're still taking a few liberties with it. But.
Yeah, but like I had been saying, it's a movie. They can do what they want with it.
Yeah.
It is cool because for people who are living now, to us, it's just eras. So to squeeze them together can be kind of fun.
Oh, one of my favorite facts is Stegosaurus lived so far in time away from Tyrannosaurus. I think they were separated by 75 million years.
Yeah.
We're separated 66 million years from T-Rex.
So, yeah.
we lived close to T-Rex, and T-Rex did the Stegosaurus in time.
No way.
Yeah.
I never thought about how big of a gap that
It's
was.
this concept
Yeah.
of deep time that is just, they lived for dinosaurs dominated the earth for such a long time. It's mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah. The entire time since the asteroid hit to now is the same distance between
Yeah.
the two animals that were all.
Yep.
T-Rex was walking over fossils of Stegosaurus by the time it was
Yeah, Stegosaurus was dead millions of years
and I
before
had no
it
idea
appeared.
that anything even existed. Okay, so tell me about this fight, because it seems like here the Giganotosaurus is stronger.
Yeah.
But then they throw in that little slip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to make the T-Rex have a weakness.
Yeah, they're just making it more ferocious than it actually really was. And then it trips and falls, and then that's what ultimately kills it. For some reason, I don't know.
Because it gets the neck. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Probably
then-
bleeding out, you think?
Maybe her neck broke, or maybe
and that's
out.
our
Yep, little mosquito.
That's going to be the mosquito
biting
from
it.
the first.
Little mosquito biting it. Giganotosaurus walks away because the fight's over.
I don't know if it would walk away, though. I don't know
would
if it's going to
eat?
give up a free meal like that.
What
Yeah.
else do you want to? Anything else you want to elaborate on when it comes to what we know about the Giganotosaurus or how it was portrayed in the movie?
Maybe I'll go over its design in the movie. In its design, they gave it a little bit of armored osteoderms that we see on a crocodilian. I mean, Giganotosaurus
You didn't like
didn't.
that?
Well, no, because Giganotosaurus didn't really have those bit of scaly osteoderms that they gave it. And like right above its hips on the back is a little bit of a sail-like ridge on there. Giganotosaurus did not have that type of feature either.
I think they put a lot of in there so you could distinguish it from a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Okay,
They got to
so-
make it a little stand
Yeah.
out a little bit.
See,
it probably
although,
wouldn't have
like
that.
those armored osteoderms and that sail-like ridge. That's a little different than it actually was in real life.
Yeah, it
Maybe-
also felt like its jaw was very I don't know if it seemed like the T-Rex just had different bite. It looks like that one's got more of an alligator kind of bite.
It is more
kind of a
slender.
larger,
Is that accurate or is
Yeah,
that just
yes.
okay.
The skull is bigger. Since it's a bigger animal, it has a bigger skull. A T-Rex skull is 5 feet long, but a Giganotosaurus is about 6 feet long. If you compare
Whoa.
those skulls, yes, the Giganotosaurus is bigger. And comparing that with a human skull would look puny.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
yeah.
they got that right then. But
Yeah,
you
but
think the scales
it's just the
and
scale and the
and the-
sail-like
yeah.
ridge is a bit inaccurate. There is a different Carcharodontosaur that does have a sail-like ridge on its back from North America called Acrocanthosaurus. Acrocanthosaurus does have a sail-like ridge on its back, and that's another Carcharodontosaur. So that did have a sail-like ridge, but other Carcharodontosaurs like the Giganotosaurus did not have that.
Oh
Maybe
yeah, look at that one with the person next to it.
Yeah.
God, those are so
Yeah,
cool
it says
looking.
their scale.
Yep, so those are the scales between T-Rex and Giganotosaurus.
Yeah, a little thinner looking too.
Yeah. Terror of South America, terror of North America.
Wow. So they really would, if you put them together, they really would compete because they were eating the same type of things.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
lucky they had
They
continents
both filled the
between
same
them,
role
right?
in each place.
So
Yeah.
do they have a shared ancestor that's fairly recent in their world? Does that make
So-
sense? Like before before Pangea broke into
Yeah, they're
continents?
both theropods. You'd probably have to go
Yeah.
back to
They're both
maybe
theropods,
even
yeah.
late Jurassic when they diverged.
Yeah,
Maybe even
that's when the
before that.
Carcharodontosaurs started diversifying from their other allosaur ancestors in the late Jurassic period. Tyrannosaurs did first evolve in the Jurassic period too, but they were small. The first tyrannosaurs were small animals about the size of dogs, so
Wow,
they were
yeah.
not the apex predators yet, which shows you that some animals have humble beginnings.
Yeah,
I know, you
that is
never would have
cool.
thought that those dog-sized tyrannosaurs would grow into such large, bone-crunching monsters like T-Rex,
Yeah.
but that's what happened. That's
Well,
what
our
they
ancestors
did.
looked kind of like a mouse or something, right? And who would have thought we'd turn into monkey type thing?
Yeah,
and
turning
all of
into
a sudden-
apes,
the first-
hanging from the
yeah.
trees,
Yeah.
walking on all fours, and then
Right.
bipedal. And like when whales ditched
Yeah.
their limbs for
Yeah.
walking on land and became
I know,
adapted
it's
to
just
living in
crazy.
the water.
And now we're just obsessed with reality TV. Like,
Right?
who would have thought that whole process was going to happen? from
Millions
just
of
some
years
mouse?
leading up to.
Just
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian every week. Yeah.
Right.
We'll move on to the Therizinosaurus.
There's an Asaurus.
That's
Okay.
a cool theropod.
Yeah, it is.
So surprisingly, I just figured this movie was going to have just T-Rex and the Giga going at it, but there was a third dinosaur that made a huge appearance in the final scene, and a lot of people have never seen this thing, and it looks very alien-like. So, is this really a dinosaur? And if so, what's the
Yes.
story behind Therizinosaurus?
Yes, the Therizinosaurus and all of its relatives are dinosaurs. They are theropods, but what's different about them is that they were completely herbivorous instead of being carnivorous. We know that they're herbivorous thanks to their beaked mouths and their leaf-cutting serration-like teeth. Yeah, they haven't found that in the Therizinosaurus, but they have found that in other types of Therizinosaurs from Asia and North America, like Erlikosaurus and Nothronicus, which are other Therizinosaurs that have these leaf-cutting serrations on their teeth, which are perfectly adapted for eating plants instead of for ripping into flesh.
So those 3 claws, I think you told me.
Yeah,
that
we have a
is
cast
one
of one
there.
right here.
Yeah, let me just
to give you an idea of the scale.
That one right there.
This one?
Yeah, that one right there. So yeah, those scythe-like claws are one of the most characteristic things of these animals. They used it for defense and for reaching foliage down from trees, and probably also for digging, like to dig up roots or insects to eat. And maybe they also use them to help them build their nests.
Why would evolution have kept favoring longer and longer claws like this? So you're saying maybe scraping leaves off a tree, or maybe digging.
Or if it's the water, just kind of like ripping out water plants out of the ground, kind of.
Maybe. Probably did that too.
You think they were mostly in the? Sloth? Do sloths have?
Sloths have pretty long claws.
Yeah, they kind of do have long claws, which they also use to grab plants off the ground, pretty much water plants too. So Therizinosaurs probably went to a watering hole and then just used their claws to help them get aquatic plants out.
Those seem related, but they're totally different because they're dinosaurs.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
these are mammals.
But maybe, look at those claws they evolved.
Look at the claws they got.
So, but maybe they were in a similar environment and had evolutionary pressures similar?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Ripping down foliage and pulling things closer towards them.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about these dinosaurs is the first thing they found were the arms and the claws. It was Dinosaurus, right? Or...
Yeah, the Therizinosaurus was the first Therizinosaur to be discovered. All they had were claws and hands.
If you look at this photo of how large these arms or claws are, I mean, there's just this monstrous animal. But they didn't have anything of the rest of it. They didn't have the head. They didn't have any those cranial parts of it outside the arms.
Just the hind limbs. And they originally thought it was from a giant turtle. And before they realized it was a type of dinosaur.
Oh, really?
Yes, they thought these were from a giant turtle.
I was like, well, I don't know, man.
Right?
Until more fossil material was discovered and realized that these belong to a strange group of theropod dinosaurs.
Yeah, they really are. They're so unique. It doesn't feel like a variation of any other dinosaur.
I know. You got a small head on a long neck with a big belly, and you've got 4 toes touching the ground.
It's so often you find almost like similar themes repeated, where it's like, well, that animal kind of looks like this, They're not related, but a triceratops kind of looks like a rhinoceros.
Right.
And you get this thing that just there's nothing else that's walked the earth that's
Do you think it was accurate?
Like it.
Would it be slow moving like a sloth, or would it be...
Yes, Therizinosaurs were not that fast because they got big physicutes.
Do you think they got that right in the movie, or did he move at the right speed in the movie, in your opinion?
Like walking and stuff. Yeah, pretty much that's the speed of a Therizinosaurus, because with those big bellies and their physicute, they probably could not run very fast like some other fast small.
What about when he swipes at the
theropods?
Deer? Like, could they swipe fast, or would they have swiped like a sloth? And
probably could move pretty fast.
Yeah, because they got big arms, so once they're slicing at predators, they would just do whoosh. Yeah.
Okay,
like
so
that.
they could do that just to rip the leaves off and maybe knock a predator out of the way or something like that.
Yeah, because the Therizinosaurus lived with a big tyrannosaur called Barbasol.
Yeah, that photo. Those are some of the first. That's like the first fossil they found.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are the claws and arms of a
I could see why that would have
Therizinosaur.
thrown a lot of people off seeing that thing and trying to figure out what kind of animal it was on.
Those were the first fossils of it to be discovered in the early 1950s.
But you mentioned speed of dinosaurs. One of the really cool things, we find these trackways, and so we're all able to find out a lot about the behavior of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We can extrapolate what their speed was and everything just from finding the trackways, and you can actually learn more about it through that way than from just the bones.
Wow.
Kind of cool. I don't think they found any trackways of Therizinosaurus yet, but
Not yet.
if we do, we'd be able to even know exactly how fast they can
And that
move.
would just be footprints and measuring the distance between the two.
Yeah.
And somehow you could tell if, based on the size of what they are, something about how it was moving.
How fast it was, like the spacing between them.
Interesting. Yeah.
That with the actual bones of knowing how far apart the legs were.
Yeah.
How quickly are they moving back and forth?
So when it comes to analyzing a fossil, it sounded like you'd cut the skull and you could figure out how soft it was, which would tell you if it was juvenile or adult, and you could tell the speed when you had tracks. What other things can you tell from the bones about the way a dinosaur lived?
Well, they've done CAT scans on bones. They'll take them to a hospital and literally just put them to a CAT scan machine, do an MRI on them. You can find about the interior of it.
So how hollow it is might mean it's a flying or quick moving thing, and the thicker it is, the more heavy it is.
Well, sauropods had a lot of hollow areas in their bones too. Those really big long neck dinosaurs, they would have hollow areas where they actually think they had air sacs in them to help support those giant necks and everything.
Called pneumacity.
Yeah.
Is it safe to take this? Well, because there's something weird about the size of a brain and how smart something is, right? But have you guys worked all that out? Like, do you know basically which dinosaurs were intelligent?
Yeah.
And how much, like, we
There's
could rank
a
them
little
all?
bit. I mean, a small brain doesn't necessarily mean it's not the smartest animal. But
Yeah,
I
because
think
like
they
birds,
have
even
some-
nowadays, birds are doing some
Yeah,
interesting
they
Exactly,
got
things.
brain
right?
power, so yeah.
You have crows and ravens that are building nests and can
Yeah.
recognize themselves.
But
and
no
do
dinosaur
incredible
was
things.
near a dolphin or anything, right?
Maybe a troodon.
Like
Probably one of
Troodont
the-
Is that the
theropods.
smartest? What's the smartest dinosaur?
Yeah, the
Probably a
Troodont
Troodon.
theropods, like Troodon. Troodonts are similar to Dromaeosaurs. They have the sickle-shaped claw and they're bird-like, but they had bigger brains, larger eyes, which also means they might
So
have been
in proportion to the
nocturnal.
body, they had the biggest brain. That's how you know that? Or you
Yeah.
can kind of tell from the environments they were found in?
Yeah,
Or...
thanks to those CT scans and looking at their brain cases, we can get an accurate size of their brain. And Troodont theropods were like the brainiest non-bird dinosaurs
Really?
ever.
Yeah.
Not as smart as a human, but pretty much very smart for a dinosaur.
But
of
they could
its
be causing
size.
problems if they're all over the
Oh, yeah.
world. Because they would be figuring out how to just get...
Very good problem solvers. could
Yeah.
Probably even,
And they're also omnivores too, so they would pretty much eat whatever food they can find as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and like I said, they might have been nocturnal thanks to their large
How
eyes.
big are they?
Like a Troodon is only like 6 feet long, so they're not big. Troodon theropods are not big.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
small bird-like theropods, but they don't need to be big because they might have also been pack hunters like Dromaeosaurs too to take down much larger prey. Like Troodon could probably take down
smart
a
enough to
juvenile
group up.
Edmontosaurus, which are those large hadrosaurs that it lived alongside
Oh, they
with.
sound like a lot of trouble, actually. If they're
Yeah.
floating or if they're hanging out at our garbage dumps.
So yeah, so here are like Troodons. I mean, don't ignore the ones that are featherless. We know that they were feathered, just like Dromaeosaurs, since they're also one of the closest relatives to
They're
modern day
6 foot.
birds.
So they're way bigger than compies.
Oh,
yes, they are bigger
could
than
eat-
compsognathid theropods.
Would they eat those?
Well, if they ever lived with them, then yes. But
Yeah.
so far, we haven't found any Troodont theropods living alongside compsognathid theropods.
Okay.
But if they were around, they would eat them.
Compsognathus is mainly found in Germany, I know.
In Germany and France.
And these guys are Canada and maybe even
Yeah,
Alaska. they
Asia,
found them
yeah,
in.
Asia and North America. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the type of teeth is another big cue, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you get a tooth, you can kind of tell if it's a carnivore or
Yeah,
herbivore.
if it's a carnivore,
Yeah.
an herbivore, or an omnivore, or
And-
a piscivore.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can tell.
Is there
their
basic
diabetic
logic to
teeth.
that? Is that like just sharpness?
Yeah.
Essentially, or
Yeah, if an animal has long, sharp, pointy teeth, then it's designed for eating meat. But if it has like plant-cutting teeth or just flat serrations teeth, then it's designed for eating plants.
So
But
you
if-
might
yeah.
have seen this and thought, oh, this could be a predator, but then later they found the Therizinosaurus teeth.
there's an
Found
assorted
the
teeth.
jaw, yeah, you find the
Therizinosaurus.
teeth
Yeah.
and you
And
start
then
to
they put it
build the
all
whole
together.
animal out from
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, they are theropods like Tyrannosaurs and Allosaurs, but they just filled in a niche that all those other theropods left behind, which is for eating plants, kind of like pandas. They mostly eat bamboo, while other bears eat sources of
Wow.
meat.
So do you think they got it right? Would you think a Therizinosaurus and a T-Rex teaming up on a Giganotosaurus would be winners? Well, you
Well-
actually thought even a T-Rex would win because
Well-
it's smarter.
Well, yeah, but if a Therizinosaurus was for some reason teaming up with another different type of theropod, then yes, they would have a high chance of winning since one's got a bone-crushing bite and more intelligent brain, and if Therizinosaurus has long scythe-like claws, then I don't see any chance of
That
one
Giga,
other
yeah.
animal taking on these guys. But the Therizinosaurus, like I said, did live with a Tyrannosaur called Tarbosaurus, which is a close relative to T-Rex, so it did live with a big Tyrannosaur, but not T-Rex.
Do you think it sometimes would eat those?
Yes, a Tarbosaurus would take on a Therizinosaurus because it's an apex predator.
Yeah.
It would eat anything, but
I
would
bet
have
they-
to watch out for those claws.
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to avoid each other more often than not. I
Because
mean,
there's other easier prey.
Exactly.
But,
Like,
if
there's-
they were starving,
like,
anytime
there's
you
ha-
get into a
there's
fight, there's a chance
hadrosaurs.
you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, there's Hadrosaurs, which don't have any defensive weapons at all. And we know
Yeah.
that Tyrannosaurs definitely ate those plain-eating dinosaurs as well.
Wow.
But Hadrosaurs are faster, so they would have to take them on by surprise, which is why we figure that they're ambush predators without wasting
Wow.
so much energy trying to chase them.
yeah, he's such a crazy looking thing. Do you think they made it a little overly aggressive in the movie, or what? Like it seemed very territorial and kind
For
of
an
like,
herbivore, it seemed like
Yeah.
it was almost hunting her.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like it did kind of look like it was hunting Claire.
Like
and
were
it
they
even did a
agitated? You think they were
screech.
agitated like that? Just like get out of my space, everything. And
Well,
just
yeah.
like,
There was a
yeah.
crash seat and a parachute inside its enclosure, and I was wondering what on earth is this?
I
And
wouldn't
the-
be surprised if they just saw the design kind of worked backwards from there. Like something
Yeah.
with claws this big can't not.
We'll
be
find
aggressive.
reasons to make it agitated just
Exactly.
for the movie. Okay, so anything else you want to mention about that, or should we move on to the Quetzal?
I think I'd rather move on to my favorite pterosaur, the Quetzalcoatlus.
Okay, cool. So yeah, because to me there's a bunch of cool new things to talk about, like the Pyroraptor and all that, but really Giganotosaurus, Therizinosaurus, and Quetzalcoatlus were these three awesome, just
look at the
huge,
scale of that
surprisingly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that these didn't show up in other Jurassic movies because they're such great dinosaurs, and it's like I can't believe the general consciousness of people who watch these movies.
Yeah,
they know dinosaurs and they've never known these three.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd love to see a giant pterosaur in a movie, like the Quetzalcoatlus and other Asdarchid pterosaurs. But yeah, the Quetzalcoatlus is my favorite. I could like other Asdarchid pterosaurs, but the Quetzalcoatlus is one of the most well-known pterosaurs of all.
So no bird anymore has that weird bend, it seems like, that I've ever seen. So what was the deal with the evolution of that weird bending and the huge size? And just tell me all about these.
These are flying reptiles too. So I mean, even though they fly like modern birds, not even
Yeah, these are not dinosaurs. These are pterosaurs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all pterosaurs are relatives of.
Yeah, they're relatives of dinosaurs, but they're not true dinosaurs.
It's almost like you have bats and birds are both flying animals. The morphology of their wings are a lot different from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did tell me about their wings and all this?
Their wings are made of thin skin supported by an elongated pinky finger, unlike birds or bats. These pterosaurs were the first vertebrates to ever evolve true powered flight, though the first ever animals to evolve were insects, but pterosaurs were the first vertebrates. Yeah, pterosaurs all have that elongated pinky finger. Yeah, imagine my pinky finger is a bit long and the wing is attached to the tip that extends all the way to my ankle, and then I have that membranous wing for me to soar over long distances. Though there has been some question, can a large pterosaur like Quetzalcoatlus even take to the sky?
Oh, they think it might have barely flown or just glided sometimes?
Maybe. There's been some speculation.
But its ancestors must have been flying, right? But then as it got bigger, it just got less and less able to fly?
Yeah. You lose the necessity of flight. You know, you get to a point where potentially it's so large and it can hunt and survive on the ground, it doesn't even need to take off into the air at all.
Wow. Yeah, but whenever it needs to, it probably would have maybe just hunched back a little bit and then just give it a little thrust and then pull its wings out and give it a little bit of flap so it can get higher and higher and higher up into the sky. And then, pretty much would just glide rather than flap all the time.
Why do you think the head got just so big? And do you think it had those like flourishes on it? I mean, even the eye is so far away from the wing.
Yeah.
Like
the skull crests were pretty accurate.
Because we don't really build airplanes like this. Why would this have worked for nature?
So the ornamentation on the head crest could be really, there's some pterosaurs that have just insane looking head crests.
And that's all about mating.
Mating, display, scaring off other animals. There's a lot of sexual dimorphism, I think they found in it, where the males are going to look a lot different from the females.
Yeah, they even found a pterosaur nesting ground, like with a bunch of pterosaurs and babies all preserved together.
Whoa.
Like there was a species called Sierra dactylus, which is an ornithocheirid pterosaur, which are pterosaurs that have crests on their beaks, and they found a whole abundance of Sierra dactylus nests, babies, and adults all preserved together. So it was like a nesting ground for all these pterosaurs until they were all of a sudden killed by a sudden thunderstorm. So that's how we know that pterosaurs nurtured for their young. So this is the type of pterosaur, Sierra dactylus. So they found a whole nesting site of those pterosaurs all preserved together.
So I was thinking they're so big they could probably pick up a human and fly with them. But do you think they had trouble flying and that wouldn't be possible?
Well, yeah, like their feet are not really designed for gripping animals and lifting them up into the sky.
Because they were normally they're mostly eating fish.
Yeah, they were mostly eating fish and small animals, not large ones. So a pterosaur cannot just come up to a large animal and pick it up and take it somewhere because it would probably drop it because it's so heavy. Gotcha. So pterosaurs cannot really lift up humans if they ever lived with them.
Okay, so if
hunting more if it's with the beak. I don't know if it's a true beak.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beak. Yeah. So we don't have anything to worry about. If these things are flying around in our modern day environment, they're not going to eat us?
No, they would not grab a human because their feet are not designed for grasping.
It's not going to pick you up and fly you back to its nest. But
we could fit in its beak.
Yeah, it might kind of peck you pretty bad.
Well, yeah, because are
we the right size food for it?
Well, we are pretty large, and just depending on how big it is, a human could sustain a large pterosaur if it wanted to. But if a pteranodon pterosaur like Pteranodon was at a human, then it would probably just peck us with its giant toothless beak, which would probably be a lot painful.
Yeah.
And some of them did have those long teeth. It was probably good for going after fish.
Yeah, like Ornithopteryx.
So that's how you kind of
yeah.
know they're water animals, is because
Yeah, they're pretty much
have-
piscivorous because they have those smooth cone-shaped teeth. So yeah, Ornithopteryx like Sierradactylus ate aquatic prey like
That's
most other
yeah.
animals.
skimming over the ocean, just picking up whatever it can.
Yeah.
It's like a pelican would today.
Yeah, and you can see those little pointy teeth on that fossil
Yeah.
specimen right there on that
I'm surprised
skull.
how many dinosaurs actually ate fish but lived on land, because I guess you'd think about fish always being so deep in the water, but there's a lot that seem to just hang out on the shores. Even the huge Spinosaurus, right?
Spinosaurus and all the
Yeah.
Spinosaur theropods, they mostly ate fish, but they didn't go into oceans. They stayed
a-
like in rivers and streams.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where they would get their fish prey.
But a lot of dinosaurs were, I guess there must have always just been fish in shallow waters, because these
Yeah.
dinosaurs lived for a long time with them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Spinosaur theropods have cone-shaped teeth used for eating aquatic prey rather than for eating land
So
animals.
again, they're one of the few, if only, major group of animal that never had a fully aquatic species. If you think about like mammals, we have whales. Birds are dinosaurs, but you have, penguins and things like that. There's no dinosaur that lived primarily in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Pretty much Spinosaurus is only the only
Yeah.
aquatic
For all
dinosaurs
those years
that we have.
too. Yeah,
right?
that is. Yeah, you'd think something would have happened.
Yeah, so there's another aquatic dinosaur too called Hesperornis, which is a flightless toothless bird
Yeah.
that lived in North America. That's another aquatic dinosaur. So pretty much that and Spinosaurus are the only aquatic dinosaurs there is, while all
Wow.
those other marine reptiles are just different types of groups that also lived in the Mesozoic.
How do you think, if that Spinosaurus would have been in the fight at the end, do you think it would have given the Giganotosaurus a good run for the money too?
Well, that's the Spinosaurus in the movie. We know Spinosaurus couldn't really take on much larger animals since it
Yeah.
was designed for eating fish. So if a
Oh,
Spinosaurus
not
also
the same
did,
kind of predator.
If you see
Yeah.
that one in the middle there on the top, that's kind of, they recently came out with a new
that's what
design
Spinosaurus
of what
really
they kind
looks
of look
like.
what they
Oh,
think they
a little
look
bit
like.
different than the movie, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just came out, I think, about a year ago. The paper came out.
Yeah, so it's got short legs with
Oh,
webbed
Really
feet
yeah.
thick tail.
and a
That's
fin-like
definitely a bit
tail.
Yeah.
different than they had it portrayed in the movie. Huh.
Yeah. Well, during Jurassic Park 3, Spinosaurus was a poorly known dinosaur. We didn't know much about it.
It's incredible that we're still learning this. Like
All the
you're
time.
you're living through
All
an
the
era
time.
where I feel like this is kind of like known, but it's really discovered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you just think in 2022 we'd have it all figured out, but yeah, we
Not
don't
even close.
Not
I mean,
even
there-
like
close.
there are
that's the
discoveries
most
every
interesting part
day.
about the movies is just how actual dinosaur knowledge has changed since they made it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the fascinating things about paleontology. We're still learning.
Yeah, you
That-
really. In
That was one of the
golden
great
era
things
of
about
it.
the first movie too. That first Jurassic Park movie really showed them as fast-moving, real
Yeah.
animals.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and of course that one scene that seems like it aged poorly, which was
Yeah.
like they can't, if you don't move, they can't see you. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, actually, they could smell you and see you.
they can see you pretty good even if you weren't moving. So that's another inaccurate thing.
Yeah.
So here's the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. I'm just gonna say one thing.
Yeah.
I actually like the design of of the modern day look to that animal with the color scheme. That's actually pretty cool. They gave it the fin-like tail and the short back
Yeah.
legs. So that's actually pretty cool. I like that image. But as you say, if the Jurassic Park Spinosaurus was in that theropod battle, teaming up with Tyrannosaurus and Therizinosaurus, then yeah, Giganotosaurus, you're done.
He's
Because you
done.
got three different theropods teaming
3
up
on 1,
against
he's not
you.
going to get out of there.
Yeah, you've got three different theropods against you, so yeah, you're definitely dead because you've
Yeah.
got three different theropods against you. So yeah, it would have been done for.
Okay, so let's talk about. I guess it was okay, let's talk raptors. I guess so. There's the Velociraptor that showed up in the first Jurassic Parks, and Blue is a Velociraptor. But then it seemed like when they were in Malta, they called those raptors something different. So those were not Velociraptors that we saw.
No, they were really Deinonychus in the entire franchise.
Yeah, break down like Utahraptor, that feathered raptor that we saw, the Pyroraptor, and just talk to me about raptors in general in Jurassic Park and what's real, what's not, and what we saw in the movie.
Okay, so their technical name are called Dromaeosaurs, meaning running reptiles. I know people are familiar calling them raptors, but raptors are given to the name of birds of prey, like eagles, hawks,
And that's
falcons.
what you have there is the rap. That's
Yes.
That's a velociraptor.
This is a velociraptor foot.
much smaller than
Yeah.
portrayed in the
Yes.
movie.
Velociraptor was only 8 feet long and 3 feet tall. It was the size of a turkey. So yeah, Velociraptor lived in Asia in the Gobi Desert, and this foot is one of the first fossils that they found in the 1920s. And
But this is the same But that is also the same as that on a different dinosaur. So
Yeah,
what
that's-
dinosaur did this come from, and why is it so much bigger?
This is from a Utahraptor, which is a much larger dromaeosaur that's 23 feet long and 6 feet tall. So just an offshoot of the dromaeosaur family. Some of these dromaeosaurs were growing quite large, and Utahraptor was the largest member of its kind.
So do you think that what we see is the Velociraptor, like blue, really should be a Utahraptor? Would that be accurate or more accurate?
As I said, she's really a Deinonychus. Utahraptor was announced the same year the first movie came out, so they didn't wait for the announcement of the Utahraptor. If they would have waited a little bit for it to be announced, then they would have put Utahraptor in the movie instead.
Gotcha.
And that discovery showed that a large dromaeosaur wasn't a work of fiction after all, because that was before it was first discovered.
Oh,
Before
so they actually took the little one and were like, we'll make it bigger. And then,
Yeah.
then like
Before-
real paleontologists found the bigger
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so they could have just waited for the announcement of the Utahraptor, and then we found out, wow, a huge dromaeosaur is not a work of fiction. Let's put the Utahraptor in the
funny.
movie.
I will argue,
but
though,
they didn't
Velociraptor
wait.
sounds a lot scarier than Utahraptor.
Yeah, true.
But yeah,
the
that
name
skull there is a skull of a Velociraptor, too.
Yeah.
Just to give
Oh,
you...
cool.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize
so-
those two were connected. So that was the leg
Yep,
of that
so this
scene.
is
Yeah.
the foot. There's the skull.
Really thin. Their jaws were a lot thinner.
Mm-hmm.
I would get my head around how, yes. I mean, they're definitely bigger than compies, but they're
Yes,
Yeah.
they're bigger than compsognathid theropods.
but they're not, they're not the same terror that I've seen in the movies for
No.
so long.
And
Yeah,
another,
Velociraptor skull and jaw 1-to-1 scale. Cool.
yeah, and another cool thing is that we know Velociraptor had feathers because they found quill knobs on the arm bones, which are the same attachment points on a bird wing. So yeah,
Oh.
the feathers are attached to these large quill knobs that attach to the bones on the wings of birds, and they found that on a Velociraptor arm bone. So we know Velociraptor had that.
In the new movie, the Pyroraptor, is that right, or would you call that?
Yeah, they did give it feathers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is quite right. Pyroraptor doesn't have any preserved feathers on the fossils, but thanks to finding other dromaeosaurs, it makes perfect sense that it did too. But the red coloring, we're not exactly sure what color Pyroraptor was.
If you look at that there, too, that one picture, it's really known from a really small amount of fossils. We don't have a ton of Pyroraptor, so a lot of it is just based on other ones we have. I think there's like one leg bone and like one upper arm bone or something like that.
Yeah.
So we could find, a year from now, they find a more complete skeleton or more fossils, and it's going to look completely different.
Right.
I doubt it, but there's a chance.
But yeah, because you just don't have enough to make a good
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a large head crest or something.
Do you know anything? It's okay if you don't, but do you know anything about the story, how they almost named the Utahraptor the Speilgburg Raptor or something?
Yeah.
heard about that,
Yeah. They were going to name it after him because they believe he was going to like fund the dig for them.
Yeah, like
but
wasn't he supposed
didn't.
to donate? He said he'd donate money and didn't, so then they
No, he
renamed
didn't.
it or
So
something?
they didn't name it after him. So the species
Yeah.
is Ostrom macerum. So it's named after John Ostrom, who discovered and named Deinonychus, revolutionizing the idea of how we see dinosaurs and that they were warm-blooded, fast, and related to
Oh,
birds.
so
Yeah.
is he your favorite?
He is one of my favorite
Paleontologist.
paleontologists
He's
from
one
the
of
past.
the people that really started moving dinosaurs away from moving stupid animals that they could actually be dynamic.
Thinking
and
about quick
fast.
birds.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he was a
Gotcha.
professor at Yale University,
Yeah.
and he even taught Robert Bacher, who is a leading paleontologist around the United States.
Oh, from the Jurassic, like there's this guy named Backer. Is that like what they say when Tim
Yeah,
says
they were
that
in
in the
the
first
second
movie?
one?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
John Ostrom was his teacher, and he taught him about the dinosaur renaissance. Like during this time, he was a student of Ostrom, so he was wearing a cowboy hat and dressed like a hippie, and he was learning Deinonychus with Ostrom, revolutionizing the idea of how we see dinosaurs.
Oh,
And it
But-
wasn't an easily accepted idea. A lot of things that he was
Yeah.
first proposing had a lot of pushback.
Yeah,
in
some of the things he was saying,
Really?
a lot of people
Yeah.
still doubted him, but most people definitely agreed and saw this new image of how we see
But he was
them.
right, so he persisted, and
Yes.
eventually
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of these became more mainstream.
Yeah, but sadly, Ostrom died in 2005.
Oh, who's the leading paleontologist in the world right now, or who's like the?
Well, there's a lot of them. I have a lot of favorite paleontologists, so
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones out there. In the public sphere, there's Jing May O'Connor, who's doing some really amazing work with feathered dinosaurs and the transition to birds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a curator at the Field Museum in
yeah.
Chicago.
Oh, cool.
I was there in 2019, but I didn't realize that she was the curator there. She's one of my favorite paleontologists. So next time I go to the Field Museum in Chicago, I want to ask if she's there.
Oh, that's cool.
Because, yeah, she's amazing. She's an amazing paleontologist and a beautiful one with a lot of tattoos and piercings.
Cool. What anyone else in the who are your top three, or just especially actually it's also at the Natural here in Vegas. Who's our number one?
So we have here there's a Dr. Stephen Rowland, who's professor emeritus at UNLV, who taught paleontology forever, and he now works at the museum, and he runs the Richard A. Ditton Learning Lab downstairs.
Okay.
If it has to do with Southern Nevada paleontology,
He's the
Dr.
guy.
Rowland is probably the guy. But we have a lot of great other ones too. I know
In the Americas, like in North America, in the United States, where is the best dig site, or like where does all our dinosaurs come from? Are they evenly distributed around the country?
No,
or?
actually, that's a good question. There's a lot of dinosaurs in North America. It's one of the richest places in the world to find dinosaurs, arguably.
Oh.
Yeah.
Going over to Montana, Colorado, Utah.
Places like those.
Yeah.
Best place to find dinosaur
That's
fossils.
where they all were living, huh?
Yeah.
Now, Nevada, it's not great for dinosaur bones.
Yeah, we haven't found a lot here. We do have a confirmed non-bird dinosaur that was announced just last year. I was at the unveiling called Nevada Dromaeosaurus.
Nevada Dromaeosaurus? Look it up, man. We got our own dino now?
We do.
Yes, we do.
That's cool.
That was named by Dr.
Josh Bondi and Becky Hall, a couple working at the Nevada Science Center, which also opened last year.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
I'll have to
Nevada.
go check that out. Nevada.
Yeah,
Science
that guy
Center.
right there.
Yep, Nevada
That's our
Dromaeosaurus.
dinosaur?
Yep, our first non-bird dinosaur ever discovered here. And there's Josh Bondi and Becky Hall with the fossils.
We found other parts
That's
of dinosaur
cool.
bones out here over at Valley of Fire State Park, but I think this was the first one that was endemic and unique to
definitely
Nevada.
confirmed. So yeah, the name
That
means,
thing would have been running around right here.
yeah, so it belongs to a group called Hypsilophodons, which are a group of beaked plant eaters that were bipedal, using their long tails for balance. So it would have just scampered along, eating low-growing vegetation, watching out for the sickle-clawed dromaeosaurs and large tyrannosaurs probably lived with.
Wow.
So
I think they have found like small pieces of tyrannosaurid bone here too as well, but nothing on like a major, nothing like, a full
But there might have been
skull
a
or anything.
T-Rex here too?
T-Rex like dinosaurs, I think.
Okay.
Never
Maybe
like
maybe
true
a different
T-Rex.
type of tyrannosaur that's closely related to Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah.
But Tyrannosaurus fossils are known from Montana, Utah, and Wyoming, and Texas.
Oh, cool. Do you think they should work that into one of the slot machines?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably just have like its own like dinosaur.
They always have like the
one that's-
bison slot machine and stuff. I feel like we should
Yeah.
have that little
What
guy.
we have a lot of here though are these ichthyosaurs too. The state fossil of Nevada is called Shoniosaurus.
Yeah.
Oh.
And up there's a place called Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park in Nevada that is just a giant death assemblage of these huge, like school bus sized swimming reptiles.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ichthyosaurs
Oh,
are
because there was water in some
Yeah.
of these areas. Oh, so
Yeah.
ichthyosaur. Oh, it's
Yeah, these things were big.
Yeah, these ichthyosaurs were
Wow,
one of
that
the
thing
largest
is-
marine
The
reptiles
second
ever.
largest
Crazy
ichthyosaur to
looking.
ever live.
Yeah, ichthyosaurs are a group of marine reptiles that
I would
kind of
have
look
never
like
thought in the-
dolphins.
Yeah.
It just shows how different the world was back then. Because I'm
Yes.
like, what's the middle of the desert? How would that thing be a fossil?
And that
Yeah.
picture on the right there is that I think a mural that they have over at the Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park.
Could it eat the mosasaur? Or,
Well, it didn't live
these
with the
lived before,
mosasaurus.
yeah.
It didn't live
Oh.
with the mosasaurus. This was in the late Triassic period before mosasaurs even evolved. But ichthyosaurs ate fish and squid because
Yeah.
they got those smooth cone-shaped teeth for eating
Man.
marine animals, just small ones, not large ones. So, but ichthyosaurs had to watch out for plesiosaurs.
Dude, I
'cause
couldn't
plesiosaurs
believe
could
when
eat
I found
them.
out that one water dinosaur was like eating the rocks, just like swam around with rocks to
Oh,
help
that-
it
yeah,
digest
that was
stuff.
that was a plesiosaur. It's
Oh,
not a
plesiosaur.
dinosaur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was called Morenosaurus. So they swallowed gastroliths to help grind up the food in
know.
their
I was like-
stomachs.
Okay, Carnotaurus Allosaurus fight. Tell me about the Carnotaurus and the Allosaurus?
Well, Carnotaurus is an bellisaurid dinosaur. Bellisaurid dinosaurs are a group of theropods that have shorter skulls than other groups. They have smaller teeth, stocky necks, and stubby little forelimbs with 4 fingers on them, even shorter than tyrannosaurs. I know
Yeah.
we see that tyrannosaurs had short forelimbs, but bellisaurid theropods had even smaller ones. Like Carnotaurus's arms are smaller than a kitchen spatula, and they pretty much were not used for anything. They couldn't help them
Yeah, look
hunt.
at those. It almost looks
Funky
like
looking,
Yeah,
yeah.
they couldn't use them to help them hunt. They couldn't use to clap. So they probably were used as
Just
visual
vestigial, huh?
displays.
Yeah.
So when a female Carnotaurus comes up, then
It
it would
might.
just raise up and then just do, and just do a
Right.
little courtship dance,
And then,
like what
like-
modern birds do.
I feel like in the movie they made their arms a little bit longer. They're like, if we keep these the actual size, it looks too ridiculous.
Yeah, and the horns were pretty much used for intimidation, display, and maybe for headbutting rituals too.
Can you do the Dominion trailer and we'll just look at that scene really quick? So obviously you're an Allosaurus fan, so
Yeah.
we saw a fight in the movie between the Carnotaurus and the Allosaurus. Who do you think, it didn't really clearly end, but who do you think
Yeah.
ends up winning that?
Well, if a Carnotaurus fought an Allosaurus, Let's see. None of them have a really strong bite. They can bite through flesh, but none of them can bite through bone. And Allosaurus does have good gripping
Yeah, it's that
arms with
second
claws
video.
on there. So, yeah, if Allosaurus... Yeah, Allosaurus is also kind of faster, too, since it's more nimble than the Abelisaurs. If an Allosaurus was fighting a Carnotaurus, maybe Allosaurus could win because it's faster and it could use its arms for gripping, while Carnotaurus only has its small skull and jaw.
Pachycephalosaurus?
Yeah,
Pachycephalosaurus.
Pachycephalosaurus and Stygimoloch. Those are both those really big domed head dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool looking.
Yeah.
They're like one of my favorite looking dinosaurs. But why do they have two names, I guess, to start with?
So there's a chance that Stygimoloch is actually just the juvenile form of the adult form, which is the
that's what
Pachycephalosaurus.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
Gotcha, the dome head. And we think that dome head was for butting their enemies, or?
Yeah, we have proposed that maybe they did head-butting contests like bighorn sheep, but a lot of scientists have been arguing with this topic. They don't think that their heads and their necks were reinforced to withstand the pressure for butting heads, so sometimes some scientists speculate that maybe they just head-butted their flanks, like their sides, so they would just headbutt their sides and stuff. But some scientists have done finite element analysis, which is the study of stresses, like when engineers are building bridges to understand the stress points.
Oh, interesting. They can maybe determine how they were,
Yeah.
You
what
can
was
actually
going
do
on.
Yeah. So they did that on
Because
some
evolution would have
Pachycephalosaurus
reinforced
specimens.
whatever was working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they did that with some
cool.
specimens, and they found out that maybe their heads and necks were strong enough to withstand all that pressure when they're butting heads. So this is still a debatable issue, but some scientists do agree with the head butting
Like
strategy.
if you look at
Interesting.
modern animals like bighorn sheep, they actually have a little bit of more reinforcement and buttressing in the lower neck area to withstand that impact when they hit each other.
Wow.
Yeah. Really cool things about
Oh, yeah.
Stygimoloch here is it has that really interesting ornamentation. So obviously, if you're headbutting, just display off as for like intersex, like
Yeah.
Oh,
domination.
It was
between
pretty
each
much
other.
also for display and
Yeah.
intimidation as well.
Okay, I could see that. What about the Sinoceratops? Why would evolution have made a Triceratops and a Sinoceratops? Like, because it's only got one thing, right?
Well, yeah, Sinoceratops has one large nose horn and that crown-like projection.
Like, are they related somehow on different continents, or how?
They
what's
are
going on with
they're a separate type of ceratopsian. Triceratops is a Chasmosaurine ceratopsian, which are a group of ceratopsians with large brow horns, longer neck frills, and shorter nose horns. The Sinoceratops is a Centrosaurine, which don't have brow horns at all. Some have little ones, but they have much shorter frills and larger nose horns. And they lived on different continents. Like Triceratops lived in North America, Sinoceratops lived in China. What's interesting is that Sinoceratops was the first large ceratopsian to be discovered in China, while all of its other large relatives were living in North America. It shows you that
Oh.
ceratopsians were also getting big in China too during the late Cretaceous period.
Wow. And Ankylosaurus, would they have lived in the same climates?
Ankylosaurus, it did live with Triceratops in the Hell Creek Formation during the end of the late Cretaceous period. So yes, it did
So
live
what
in the same
differentiated the food source, or like how come they didn't compete each other out of existence?
Probably because they have different types of teeth for eating different types of low-growing vegetation. So since they had different types of teeth, they ate different types of plants without
So
having.
they didn't end up
Yeah.
fighting over everything.
So yeah, Ankylosaurus was just minding its everyday business, while Triceratops and all of its others were just eating other types of plant eaters as well. But the same thing that they both did was trying to keep away from Tyrannosaurus Rex,
Yeah,
which was
that's
the
what
apex predator of Hell Creek.
Yeah, similar to
Gotcha.
like the African savanna today, where you have some that are low browsers, some that are eating more brushes and things like that. So you have a good mixture, and they all have their different niches in the environment there.
Yeah, so the different types of foliage really helps determine the
Yeah.
different type, and yeah, that's why some get so tall and so
Some
long.
are going over higher brushes. Some can even eat more like rough plants and everything, as opposed to
Yeah.
those that would purely eat grasses.
Oh yeah, that thing that's on your shirt. Like
Oh,
we
Dimetrodon.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the scene when they go into the rocks and the caves and those things show up totally threw me off. So what is that? Because my girlfriend said like you all have dinosaur shirts,
Yeah.
and then you were like, no, he does not have a dinosaur shirt.
Dimetrodon is one of those
Can you
synapsids.
show it off for a second?
Yeah,
just to the
for
camera.
sure. These are these really cool sail-backed animals that they're not even sauropsids. They're more closely related to mammals than they are to like other dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They even lived before the dinosaurs too, the Paleozoic, and all kind of went all extinct at the end, Permian extinction. And they had these huge sails on their back and those really big jaws. And if you look at their legs, one of the most distinguished things about what separates them from the dinosaurs is their legs are splayed out to the side rather than under them.
Yeah.
If you look at the skull morphology too, it's a little different. That's kind of one of the big distinctions between synapsids and sauropsids. They just have the one hole called a temporal fenestra
Okay.
in the back, which is really good for muscle attachment there.
So why are they so wide and low? Like, what's their and what's the sail all about?
The sail, there's a lot of ideas of what that sail could be for.
Yeah.
I don't think they have definitive ideas. Could be that it would be good for temperature regulation. I know that's proposed a lot, but more likely I think it'd be more just display. You know, you look at these things and it's the bigger the sail, you're going to scare off other animals, but more likely also other dimetrodons that are going after your mates and everything.
Yeah, those things were pretty crazy. Like, I just remember they got in the scene and he just like puts the flame up to it and it was like, what is that thing? And why are they all just, I don't know, hanging out in the dark like that? You think that was accurate?
I don't know that they're true dark animals. These things were probably living in, they found them. It's kind of more of this red bed over by kind of rivers and areas like that. They're part of this group of animals called Pachycephalosaurs that all have these sails. And there's a lot of variation. Some are only ate plants. There's one called a Dilophosaurus that had that same size, but its skull didn't have any sharp teeth. It just had these like kind of little square pegs for eating plants.
Whoa. Did we see an iguanodon in the movie?
No, we didn't. Like, we did see one in the prologue, as we saw, but in the movie, no, we didn't see an iguanodon.
And is it true that that's the very first dinosaur that's ever been found?
It's one of them. Its fossils were first found. Yeah, iguanodon teeth were first found in 1822 by a woman named Mary Ann, and she gave it to her husband, Gideon Mantle. Since people didn't know what dinosaurs were, he couldn't work out what teeth those were. And he decided that they do look similar to an iguana, so he thought it was like an iguana-like, lizard-like animal. So he called it iguanodon, meaning iguana tooth, and he pictured it as a tree-climbing iguana-like creature before he realized it was a dinosaur.
They had that one scene, Dreadnoughtus.
Yeah, Dreadnoughtus was in the river.
That was the very last dino.
Yeah, it's one of the Titanosaurian sauropods, and yeah, we haven't found a complete fossil skeleton material of it, but it was a large animal, like 85 feet long, like other Titanosaurian sauropods.
Tell me about the where you're working and what you guys have at the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, so I'm here with the Las Vegas Natural History Museum, and we're located just north of kind of downtown Fremont area, and we have all kinds of exhibits there. Dinosaurs are by far the most popular, but we have some great stuff on marine life. We have a lot of live animals too. We do have live sharks, and we have shark feedings there.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. We got some Madagascar.
Isn't there used to be a giant shark too, right?
There was a megalodon.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that thing was probably hunting whales and all kinds of stuff.
It was that big, huh?
And at the museum, we actually have a jaw of a megalodon. And
really?
A jaw of a great white inside of it.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
So you get a sense of the scale between the two of them.
Wow, look at how big that is. What are some of the other exhibits that you have at the museum?
So we actually just opened our temporary exhibit yesterday. It's going to be about Leonardo da Vinci and his machines and robots.
Oh, cool.
So we have all examples of his simple machines he made and his robots and all the really creative stuff he made, even some like his war machines and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Our Dilophosaur exhibit is incredible, though. It was pretty recently installed, and it's probably one of the more accurate
and I love that too. That's a popular dinosaur. I mean, that's one of the classics that made its return in the new movie, so it would be fun to go see
this guy and how different
So
he
this would be a great
from...
place to go see what the real Dilophosaurus versus the movie one was like, and see if a sense for the size, a sense for like without the frills, what they look like.
Yep. It's covered in that light downy feathers there, usually more likely for warmth and everything.
Yeah.
So many people have seen, even kids have seen Jurassic Park. And be like, hey, you guys know the spitting dinosaur? This is what it really looks like.
Oh, and you're like, no, it doesn't spit either, right?
Yeah, there's no proof of spitting.
So the frills, the spitting.
It did have a pretty pronounced crest on its head.
Paleontology and discovery, and places like this give us a chance to go and actually see what the discoveries you're making are, and just you could do all the work. We'll just bask in everything that you've discovered, and that's the great thing about the Natural History Museum. So, it's your ringtone. Your ringtone's a Jurassic Park scream?
Or
is that your alarm?
T-Rex roar?
Yeah, it's the T-Rex roar from Jurassic Park. We know dinosaurs didn't really roar. That roar is inaccurate, but it just sounds so cool. So yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it up.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm very sorry. It's just that we are scheduled to plan to see the Dominion movie. Of course, I'm
going to go see it.
I'm going to go see it again, but my other brother and my parents have not seen it yet. So we were all going to see it. So he was just wondering if I was done.
No, it's good. We need to get you to the new Jurassic World.
I'm gonna go see it again.
Second time.
Yeah,
but
second time.
That is the perfect reason to wrap this up. So thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you for talking about the Dino Tracker and for giving us all of these updates on all of these new dinosaurs. Great movie, very excited, and it was wonderful to have you. And
thank you so much
check
for
out the
having us.
Natural History
Thank you for
Museum
having
here.
us.
Yeah.